Well, speaking about woke causes, you'll both remember when Malcolm Turnbull was Prime Minister and he flew in a helicopter to the Snowies in a nation-building project, Snowy 2.0. It was going to cost $2 billion and be up and running a year or two from now. Now it's not going to happen, if at all, till 2030. It'll cost $20 billion. And, of course, we get no additional energy from this. It only stores energy if it works. But this thing's a disaster, isn't it? We've had experts saying you just pull the pin, stop wasting money on it, spend money on something else. What do you reckon?
It would be very useful if we could have 2 gigawatts even of stored power right now. But look, they're talking about 2029 at the earliest, and that's assuming you can get the transmission lines there. I mean, it's become too complicated and just too big. And you come back to Chris Bowen's continual argument that nuclear is too expensive. Compared to what? Like they're just about to spend $15 billion on this one.
$20 billion would build you the biggest nuclear plant in the world, and they're going to blow it on this thing that doesn't work.
And the thing is that what is now become Snowy 2.0, it's almost like the quintessential example of every complexity, difficulty, problem with, energy sources that we don't, that are new, that we're trying out, that everyone's kind of winging this thing and seeing how it goes. But it's a very expensive experiment.
They keep doing this. There's wave machines stuck off various parts of the Australian coast where they pump millions of dollars in to make wave electricity.
Stop.
They just make little fishing grounds as they rot, or fish and boating hazards. What about gas? Let's have a look at what the Grattan Institute is saying about gas again.
Many Australians, maybe even you, are using gas for cooking, for heating and for hot showers. But Australia won't hit its net zero emissions target by 2050 unless it gets off gas. And that means we need to move our homes to efficient electric appliances.
I like hot showers. I like cooking. If my wife Sunita's watching, she'll fall off her chair. But I especially love my gas fire. You can't take this away from us. They are troglodytes.
Absolutely. And anyone who knows how to cook wants some kind of... you know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the Labor ministers selling to the old Asian grandmas out in Western Sydney that, no, you don't need your gas wok burner.
Yes.
We'll get you an electric... They will lose it. Look, it's just unacceptable. And the fact of the matter is, even if you've got this newfangled electrical power, if the power goes out, you can't even make yourself a cup of tea. At least if you've got more than one type of way of heating something, at least if the power goes out, you can still boil an egg, you can still make some pasta under candlelight.
And if there's one thing we know about our energy system in the future, the power will go out.
Well, that's right. I mean, this is all predicated on the fact you're going to have enough electricity in the system, and we currently have that at the moment. And I've just checked, Chris, real live breaking news. Here in New South Wales, we're at 65.8% of our electricity is coming from coal. So if you're using gas right now, you are actually doing more to save the planet on that tiny percentage of our energy that goes on
and if you're using
gas.
a gas heater instead of an electric heater instead of a gas heater, you're actually burning coal. It's insane. Now, speaking of insane, we've got to get onto the Royals while Caroline's here. This Spotify podcast is fantastic, where the executive from Spotify talks about why they're not really doing any more with the Ginger and the Whinger. Have a listen.
I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. I got to get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try to help him with a podcast idea.
I want to hear a tape of that Zoom. I want to know about the Zoom. But grifters is the right word, right?
Well, look, no one has come out and said that is a hugely inaccurate statement, and this story's been out about 3 or 4 days. So... They got paid this massive amount of money, 20-something million US dollars, and since 2020 they have produced 12 and a half hours of podcast footage. Now, anyone would be upset at that investment.
What's their future? What do they do next?
I don't know, Chris. I mean, they're running out of tricks, aren't they? And I really think they've revealed themselves to have absolutely nothing there except anger and resentment on her part, and I don't know what it is on Harry's part, but I can't see a market for them right now. I don't know how they're going to make a living.
Well, he can fly choppers. You're from the west. Couldn't he go up to the northwest shelf there and fly choppers out to the oil rigs?
We'll get him a job on the mines.
Yeah,
yeah,
good,
we
eh?
can do
Well,
that.
see if we can stitch that up for him. And Megan Ward, she could work in the local takeaway.
He'll have to do a pee test though to go up there, so he might have to.
All right, there's drug tests for the mines.
There's drug testing on the mines.
Could be the obstacle. Harry can't get a job on the mines. Now, speaking of the Queen, it all ties together because the president of the free world, the US President Joe Biden, on the weekend mentioned the Queen. Have a look.
All right, God save the Queen, man.
Maybe you'd get away with God save the Queen, man, if he knew where he was walking. But has anyone told him what happened to the Queen? Didn't he? He didn't go to the funeral, right? His wife went to the funeral, didn't he?
Yeah, was he quoting from the Sex Pistols lyrics? Was that what was happening there? But I don't know. Last Queen, next Queen. I mean,
It was also in Connecticut.
Yeah.
There's no Queen in
There's no
Connecticut.
Queen
There's
of
no royal
Connecticut?
family in Connecticut. No.
Yeah. Any other Queens he could have been referring
Well,
to?
there's other Queens, but not of the variety that he's probably
we
thinking
don't,
of.
we don't think so. We don't think he knew what he was talking about. Look, he also made a fairly awkward joke. Have a look at how this one goes down. He explains it. It still doesn't go down.
I might add, if I didn't, I'd be sleeping alone. You have to explain. I better explain that. Some don't know what I'm talking. My wife's a Philly girl. All right, where are we going?
We're heading this way for him.
All right, we're going to go over and get the briefing.
Mr. President,
What to say to that?
It's just horrible, isn't it? It's a great country.
leader of the free world. Here we
Leader
go.
of the free world. And the Democrat senator who's hosting there in the background, Fetterman, he turned up in shorts and a hoodie. What's happening to the great republic? Thanks for joining us, Nick and Caroline.
Pleasure.
Appreciate your company.
Thanks,
We're going
Chris.
to move on.